Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes. Welcome to Everything Cooperative. This morning, we're in Phoenix, Arizona. It is nice and beautiful out here this morning, and we're at the National Association of Housing Cooperatives annual meeting. The National Association of Co-ops is sort of like a federation of housing cooperatives. So the National Association of Housing Cooperatives have been around for some time. They have people here from all over the U.S. and sometimes from Canada and Bermuda, St. Thomas, which is a part of the U.S. And right now, this morning, we've invited several people to just come in and tell us their name, what co-op they're from, how long they've been in the co-op, anything that's interesting that's going on in the co-op, and kind of think what they've learned. And Miss Audrey Dixon is the first person here from Boston. Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning, Virgin. How are you?
Great. You're coming across loud and clear. Thank you for coming in this morning.
No problem.
So, where are you from, and what's the name of your co-op?
I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm from St. Joseph's Community in Cooperative.
St. Joseph. How many units do you all have?
We have 137 townhouse units.
Okay. How long have you lived there?
I moved into St. Joseph February of 1970.
1970?
Yes, 1970.
You were 5?
I'm up there. But that's when I moved in February of 1970.
42 years?
Yes. I've been involved in cooperative housing for 43 years.
40. Okay. So, are you on the board?
Yes, I am on the board of directors. I am the president of the board of directors, and that means that I'm the president of the housing cooperative. It's like being the CEO.
Okay. So let's go. 100 and how many units?
137 townhouse units.
Okay, so it is a cooperative, a housing cooperative.
Yes.
And so people out there, let me first give you the 4 different types of co-ops. And for those that have been listening, you've heard this a lot, but I like to make sure people know there are 4 major types. And it depends on who owns and controls the business, because each of these housing co-ops are a business. And if it's owned and controlled by the employees, it's called a worker cooperative. Therefore, any business you can think of that have employees could be a cooperative. And if it's owned and controlled by the people that uses the products or the services, and that's like credit unions or housing co-ops, and there's a health clinic in Madison, Wisconsin, that the patients own and control that health clinic, then it's called a consumer cooperative. And those are some examples. So there's different types of consumer cooperatives where the consumers. Food co-ops are an example, and they're scattered throughout the U.S. Food co-ops could be, in most cases, they're owned by the consumers, the people that shop there. And so in some cases, it's owned by the employees and the consumers. So a worker cooperative and a consumer cooperative. The other 2, which you have a lot of farmers and now artists are doing, is when they call a purchasing co-op. They purchase their products together. Okay, they purchase their products so they can buy in volume. They'll have a staff that helps them to buy, so they'll know the vendors, they'll do the contracts, and when they buy in volume, they normally get better products for a lower price. And so that's why people come together. Farmers do that to buy grain and fertilizers and gas and whatever else they might do. They also may buy equipment together. And Audrey, I have found since I've been doing this show, which is now 5 years, this is our 5th year anniversary this October.
Congratulations.
And that artists are beginning to form purchasing co-ops. They may go out and purchase, like in Pittsburgh, there's a group called Ujamaa, and they bought a storefront so that the ladies mostly that do their different artwork and have a storefront, individually they couldn't afford it. but collectively they can, and then they work it. And then the other side of it is the marketing cooperatives. Again, the farmers have been using this a lot. The farmers have to farm. They have to buy the stuff that they need to farm, and then they have to market their products. And they may not know how to do all of that. So they form marketing co-ops, Ocean Spray, Land of Lakes, Cabot Creamery. Those are all different types of marketing co-ops. So those are the four basics. And housing co-ops, which Audrey is the president of one, St. Joseph in Boston, Massachusetts, 137 units. So
townhouse units.
Townhouse units. Okay. 2 levels?
There are 2 levels. For the 1 bedrooms, they're just a single level. For 2 bedrooms, they're upstairs and downstairs. For 3 bedrooms, that's the same. Most 3 bedrooms have a basement. Those who don't have a basement are split levels, so there are 3 levels. And then you have the 4 bedrooms that basically have basements, and they're 2 levels plus their basement. And then the 5 units are 3 levels.
5 bedrooms?
We have 5-bedroom units.
Wow. So you have a lot of children.
We have half and half. We have a lot of individuals that have lived in this cooperative since August of 1969. They still live there. A lot of them do. We have some that have passed their cooperative share over to their children or grandchildren. So we have like 3 to 4 generations living there because the cooperative share was passed on to families who qualified. So we are starting to have a lot of children. We had a lot of kids that grew up, went to college, and they're all over the country. And then we have a new group of children that are basically coming over. So for about 4 or 5 years, we didn't have really any kids. So this year we have a lot of kids running around because of these second and third generations. And so it's great seeing the kids riding their bikes and running around and playing. And then we have, individuals that they're just the husband and wife. They've never had any children. But we look at St. Joseph as a family cooperative. Like it. Yes, like in the olden days, the fact is that, and you may or may not remember, if someone was looking out of the window and saw you doing something, they'd call you mother. Or they'd go get you and bring you to your mother. And we have that in St. Joseph
still
now.
Today?
Yes, we have it.
I grew up in Bluefield, West Virginia.
Okay.
And in Bluefield, West Virginia, we was on a mountaintop.
Okay.
We called Tank Hill. And it was basically working poor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's whites and blacks, and it didn't make any difference. But if somebody saw you out on the street, they called. But back then, there was no telephones.
Mm-hmm.
The call was, "Hey, Flory." The call. So you may get smacked out there or whooped out there, and you get it when you get home.
Well, you can't do that in today's ages because of 51As and all of that abuse. But the fact is, your mama will find out about it.
Yeah, and that kept us straight.
Yes,
it really does take a village. So you have
it takes a village to raise children, and the St. Joseph stays at least a 98 to a 99% of people living there. We very seldom have units, and we have units available, the townhouse units. People scramble to try to buy into the equity within the cooperative because we are a limited equity cooperative.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that word. So you stay occupied, 95 to 98% occupied.
By owner occupied because they own a share in the cooperative.
Okay, so it doesn't make any difference in a 5-bedroom or 1-bedroom. They have one share.
They have one share, 1/137th.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
We started out as a 221 D3, and we paid off our mortgage in November of 2011. And
hallelujah. Okay.
Yes, and we voted the whole community. When you make major votes to change anything in your bylaws, the 3/4 of your members have to be there before it basically any changes. And when we paid our mortgage, it was determined that we were going to stay affordable. And that's what we did because we could have turned to condos because of where we're situated. There are a lot of stuff, condos and things going up, but we determined to stay affordable where we do have a HAP contract, which is project-based. We have individuals that are beamers, and then we have individuals that are market.
So I want to go back and explain a few of these terms you've used. So a 236 D3 is the name of the section of the law that HUD had that would say that they could put up money to help to purchase or build a
Cooperative.
cooperative. And so that's why it's a limited equity co-op. Limited equity co-op means that there's a limited amount of profit that you can make off of your initial investment.
Correct.
Okay, your deposit or subscription fee or whatever that's
Subscription
called.
fee.
Okay, so they put a limit on it. Now, I used to think, when I first heard about limited equity co-op, I used to think that was a way that, because a lot of these housing co-ops, limited equity, were in black neighborhoods. So I used to think that there's a way that people in power would make it so that black folks could not make money. That was my first impression. And since then, though, I love limited equity co-ops.
Yes.
Why do you like them?
Because it gives a person a sense of ownership. And when you have a sense of ownership, you basically makes you feel good because, you know, they have a right to live in that unit because they have a share. But to them, that's, you know, they take care of their front yards, their backyards, inside of their houses. They don't have a landlord, so they don't have to deal with that. And, you know, there are bylaws and there are occupancy agreements to say what the cooperative is responsible for and what the members are, or shareholders members are responsible for. And one of the things I want to bring up is that we were built started in 1968. Roger Wilcox, who from the National Association of Housing Cooperative, came to Boston. The Catholic Archdiocese wanted them to develop co-ops. St. Joseph was the only one that was developed in an urban area. Two others were built outside of Boston in suburban areas. So if anyone knows the outside of Boston, like Norwood is one of the places. But we were built as a cooperative, not as a rento, changed into a cooperative. So there's a little bit difference there. So and people enjoy the fact of ownership.
All right, we're going to take our first break, and we'll be right back. I got several things to talk about. Please don't touch that dial.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOL and 95.9 FM.
Information is power, and that's why WOL is a great partner. Information. Well, you know, information isn't where you get your power. If you get the information and use it, then you have power. If you don't use it, there is no power. So one of the ways of getting power is by going out and voting. I really want to encourage everybody out there to get information, know who's running, know who will be best for your community, whether it's in Boston or Phoenix or D.C. or L.A., it doesn't make any difference. Find out who's running. In this midterm election, I have found out and believe that it's more important than the presidential because it's on a local level of where those laws are made on a local level. So they're very, very important. So please get out and vote. Get the information and use that information. Get into action, and the action is where the power is. Miss Audrey Dickerson from Boston is our guest so far this morning. We've invited some other people from the National Association of Housing Co-ops annual meeting in Phoenix, where we are this morning. It's beautiful out here. I don't know what the weather is. I heard 50-some degrees in D.C. I don't be surprised if it's 80 or something out here today.
Well, it's 43 in Boston.
40, okay.
Degrees.
Okay. So we were talking about how you got formed using HUD. It was built as a cooperative. Roger Wilcox unfortunately passed last year. He was 97 years old. He and Herb Fisher used to sit me down at the National Association meetings and the development, and I almost literally sat at their knee and heard about history, the history. And Roger almost started a conversation about what happened in 1954, and he would bring it up to the day. Just a wealth. And he was writing a book, never got it published or finished before he unfortunately passed. So that's a great, great history who love co-ops. Now, go all the way back. I just did my mathematics from 1970 to 2018 is 48 years.
We will be 50 in August 2019. We will celebrate our 50th anniversary as a housing cooperative, St. Joseph will.
Let me know. I may travel up to Boston.
There's no problem.
With you guys. And if you have it on Thursday, we'll have you back live with some of the other people there. And if not, we may tape something to do in a future show.
Okay, that's no problem.
Built in 1968, started in 68, finished in 69. That's the time I was graduating from college. Okay. You are the president, and there's 137 units. There's one member, one vote.
Yes, it is. A democratic. Democratic.
So how do you get elected?
In St. Joseph, we follow the Rothschild principles and then our bylaws, which states that once a year we have to have an annual meeting that all members have to attend. Sometimes they all attend, sometimes they don't. But you have to have, in order to do any business at your annual meeting or make any changes, you have to have at least 75% of your housing co-op members present at that annual meeting.
How many percent?
75%.
Wow, to have a quorum, you need 75%.
For to make any changes, major changes, or basically for voting.
Okay.
So we allow people to do proxies for those who cannot attend. One proxy per individual. So if you have someone that's working or somebody that is sick, they can submit a proxy. And that person can vote for them. So at that time, we basically have our elections. We go through business of what's we have our attorney there who talks about any issues or things if there are any happening legal. We have our CPA/auditor there to let the cooperative basically have an understanding of where we are financially, what shape we're in.
You give everybody in the co-op the financials?
No, we give them a statement so that they have an idea. And that comes from our CPA and our management company. They just, so that, how much money, where we are in regards to, spending and how much money, are we in the plus or are we in the minus?
Well, so, I call that the financials.
Yes, well, that's a financial. And our CPA is there who has already done the audit because the audit would have already been submitted. And he basically tells the cooperative, what shape we're in. And unfortunately, we're in good shape, very good shape. And members like to hear that.
So the members come, and I just did a little math. You need 103 members in order to make a change. That's a supermajority.
That's a change, yes.
Yeah, but not to elect the board, though.
No, to elect the board, we have to basically have, it's the quorum of how many people are in attendance. And you take the number of people who are in attendance, the number of proxies that you have, the number of absentee ballots, and you basically have to have, at least in order to vote, you have to have 42 individuals present, and then along with your proxies or your absentee. And so a board member, a person, potential board member, or an existing board member, they have to submit an application, which is a 4-page application about who they are, why they want to serve on the board, what do they have to offer to the community, what skills do they have to offer to the board, what education you have, what training you have, and then the membership that's posted at least in the office, the site office, posted on with a picture of the individual so that members can come into the office and see who's running and read about them. Because in our bylaws it says that nominations cannot be taken from the floor. So to have that out there, we encourage individuals to run for the board, because it's important that people basically take the power in regards to being there to make sure that the member shareholders are the ones that basically makes the rules, policies, and everything, and someone else is not making it for them.
Amen.
So that we have an election. We have our attorney there who runs the election. They vote in a board of some members that are called to count the votes. And each person running gets up there and they have 3 minutes to talk about why they would be great to be a member of St. Joseph. And after that, the votes are collected from the members. The inspectors, the elections inspectors, they take the votes, tally the votes, and bring it back and give the information to the attorney. And the attorney basically states who is now either stays on the board, who is on the board, or who the new board member will be.
So what I'm hearing is the 137 members, owners. Mm-hmm. They live there, they own it. they're the ones that, through their bylaws, tell them how they can elect the board of directors.
Yes, it's in the bylaws.
And then the board of directors then are the ones that manage they call it fiscal responsibility?
We have fiscal responsibility. We have to we comply with our bylaws. We develop policy. We develop house rules and regulations. And we hire a managing agent that will come in to do the day-to-day running of the cooperation. And every month we have a board meeting, and all that information is given.
How often?
We have a board meeting once a month.
Okay.
Once a month. The only time we don't have a board meeting is August and December. But other than that, we have, and you have to attend, because a board member cannot miss 2 consecutive meetings. If they are, then they're basically, they have to give reason and rationale, because you can't, be part of something when you're not there to make sure that things are happening that need to happen. And once a week, I get an update from the managing agent in regards to anything that's happening in the cooperative. So I am totally aware. Sometimes I may put my input or basically, ask why certain things were done. I'm not a micromanager, but I make sure that the welfare. It is my fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the welfare of the cooperative is being met.
Okay. So this is what I call an inverse pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
You got the members on top who have the power.
Yes.
They have the power, and if they get the information and they come to board meetings and then they know who they can elect, then they can put that power to use by electing a board of directors and holding them accountable to create the kind of policies that they want.
Yes.
And follow the bylaws or change them. And then the board, as you say, they have all of the responsibility for this business.
Yes.
Whether that is, what's the financial, are you profitable, or are you losing money?
Right.
And are people living by the rules or not?
And how we deal with that is that we have committees. We have an audit finance committee, which is a very active committee. And so that twice a month, we meet with the managing agent. We have all the financials, and we have our treasurer chairs that, and they go over everything: accounts receivable, accounts payable. Checks are signed off on that time. After all the documentation. We have a capital improvement committee where board member, the assistant vice president, and another member of the board, they work with the property facility manager and our managing agent and a construction management company to deal with any capital work that needs to be done. And they also basically make sure that the needs assessment that we did the prior year is basically being adhered to in regards to us making sure that certain things that need to be done that were identified that are getting done. We have a membership committee that basically takes in interviews the individuals that are applying. They go out and do home visits, and then they come back and give recommendation to the board of directors.
All right, before you go to the next one, I want to go back to your finance committee and then talk about your membership committee. I heard you say you all meet twice a month.
Yes, the audit finance committee meets the first and third Thursday a month for 2.5 hours at least. And
then you have a board meeting. So you have 3 meetings for this people in the finance committee.
Yes.
You're on that committee?
I sit in, but I just sit in because president usually can sit in on any committee. Right. But to make the finance committee is very important, and that was started.
It's News Talk 1450 AM WOS and 95.9 FM.
Vernon Oaks. Welcome to Everything Cooperative. If you're just joining us, I'm in. Miss Audrey and we're in Phoenix, Arizona with the National Association of Housing Cooperatives, their annual meeting, and she is from Boston, Massachusetts. The National Co-op Bank sponsors this program. NCB's mission is to support and be an advocate for America's cooperatives and their members especially in low-income communities, by providing innovative financial and related services. National Cooperative Bank has sponsored this program for the last 5 years. We are celebrating our 5th anniversary this year. We started 5 years ago. Miss Audrey, we were only going to do it for a month to celebrate Co-op Month because October is Co-op Month. Mm-hmm. But it hit off. I really enjoy talking to people throughout the co-op world, and I'm talking about the whole world. We've had folks from all parts of the world. Most of them are from the U.S., but there's a lot of co-op action going on in places like Russia and China and Latin America and all through Africa. So there's a lot of co-op. Asia, but huge co-ops in India, farming co-ops and so forth. But National Cooperative Bank has been a great, great, great sponsor. And Chuck Snyder and the group there, Chuck is the president. Not only do they support us financially, but it's all motivationally. They really get co-op and want to know that we want to get more people to understand what co-ops are, how they function, and how they're really good for everyday people. They're good for everybody, but particularly everyday people to do exactly what you were doing in Boston. That is, have some control over your life.
Yes.
And that's what we were explaining, that the members, 137 members from 1 to 5 bedrooms in Boston at the St. Joseph Co-op that was built as a co-op from scratch in 1968-69 time frame. They're going to celebrate next year 50 years of being in existence. And I told her when they do it in August of next year, that invite me up. I'd like to come on up to Boston. August is a good time. I don't know about January or February, but... So at these 137 members, you need about 30% in order to have a quorum to have a meeting and have elections and make decisions. Yes. But if they want to change something, like change the bylaws, they need a supermajority, which is 75%. That's like 103 people they would need, or proxies, or absentee ballots. Mm-hmm. It looks like, from everything that Ms. Audrey is telling me, they are run extremely, extremely well. I've been managing co-ops now for 25 years. That's why I learned about them. And I have found, Ms. Audrey, that what it takes to have successful co-ops is a good governance. They have to have a good board, and a good board first. And then they have to have good management. And it doesn't make any difference if they are self-managed or have a site manager or if they have a third-party management company. But they got to have good management. And what I call good, Miss Audrey, is when they have knowledge, which you're learning here in Phoenix. You have knowledge and integrity. And of those two, the most important is integrity. Because I've got a 16-unit co-op that's made with seniors. And at one point, I don't think, at most we had was a high school degree, and they didn't have a lot of knowledge, but they had got common sense, and mother wit, if you will, and integrity. They held themselves accountable, and they held me accountable. Okay. And that's what it sounds like you guys do. So we were talking about the finance committee before we went to break, and you said that you all meet twice a month.
Yes.
And like the treasurer's in charge of a committee. And then the board, so she at least has 3 meetings a month. She has a board meeting and these 2 finance committees.
I have more meetings than that.
You do?
Yes. And sometimes my vice president also.
Okay.
One of the it's important. One of the things you talked about, your third party. We have a managing agent, which is Trinity Management LLC in Boston, and one of the things that's in our management agreement that they come to the National Association of Housing Cooperative. They basically take the registered cooperative managers course. They basically come yearly. The property manager and the person that supervises the property management, because we have a managing agent that knows about cooperatives. They may have not when they first came in, but the fact is that they have a sense of cooperative housing. And that's very important because we did not want to be run as a rental. Because a lot of people, they look in, because there's not a lot of cooperatives in Boston, and you have some managing agents that basically try to run a cooperative like a rental. That's one thing that has never happened. We did have it at the very beginning, and we basically terminated that contract.
So when you say they were managing like a rental, give me some examples.
The fact is that they were basically telling that board, and that was a while ago. That was maybe 15, maybe 20 years ago. They were basically, calling us tenants and trying to basically tell us what to do. Had no sense of money, because it was the co-op housing was new and there wasn't a lot of information until the board started going to the conferences, the National Association of Housing Cooperative and the Midwest Association of Housing Cooperative. Boston did have the Massachusetts Association of Housing at that time, but they basically were not providing training, so we had to travel to get the training and the knowledge. So that's one of the things. After a board member is on the board for 1 year, that next year they go to conferences, and I basically select all the courses that individual has to take. Because they're not going on vacation. They're going there to learn, to bring back to the cooperative, to better our cooperative.
So we're going to talk about some of those classes after the next break. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned a couple things. You mentioned the finance committee,
yes.
And then you mentioned membership. And one of the difference between a condo and a cooperative is that membership committee.
Yes.
How does it function?
The membership committee basically, they basically meet to make sure that they know fair housing law. And they're members. A board member is not a member of the membership committee, which is the membership selection. They're the ones who select individuals to bring to the board for a recommendation to be members. They are members, all of them. There are 3 of them. They are members, and they basically meet once a month. Our managing agent, Trinity, basically taken to get a person comes in. They want to basically an application. We give them a form that tells about what housing cooperative is about. The person comes back, and they're interviewed by the property manager, site director, mm-hmm. And then she puts together the file. She takes and submits it to the membership selection committee. Membership selection committee interviews that individual and the entire family at that time. The entire family has to take part in an interview.
Oh my!
And then they do a home visit.
Okay.
They go out and do a home visit. And then they meet, they put all their information together, and they present the information to the board of directors, who basically can accept that recommendation or find cause not to accept that applicant as a member.
Okay. So I'm going to go back a minute. You've got the members on top. They elect the board of directors.
Yes.
The board of directors then has a lawyer that reports into them.
Yes.
They have an auditor that reports into them.
CPA, yes.
And then they have committees.
Yes, we have committees.
Okay, well, so we've talked about the audit and finance committee and the membership committee. So after the board then also hires a management company.
Yes, we have to do the day-to-day running to make to follow the policies and regulations that have been developed by the board with membership involvement, and so that we have a site director, we have a property facilities manager, we have facility specialists, we have an assistant property manager, so that those individuals do the day-to-day running, and to make sure that all policies and regulations and anything that anybody that basically any agency that we have to apply, like MOR or HUD because of the HAP contract, that they are in compliance with that,
right.
With whatever the rules and regulations of that agency, and that's a funding agency.
So you hire the management company. You just laid out what their responsibilities are.
Yes.
Basically to implement
yes.
what the board tells them to implement.
Correct. With
the budget and the bylaws and house rules.
Right.
Okay. So,
but one of the things I want to go back.
Okay.
When we do with the monies, when a check is written, it has to have 2 signatures. One signature from the management company, and one from 2 signers. There are only 2 signers on that can sign, the vice president or myself. So no check will be processed unless it has one signature of the board from the board president or vice president, and one signature from the either the controller or the CEO of the management company. So that's very important, because we want to control our accounts receivable, and that audit finance committee, they take into look at those payables, those receivables, and to make sure that and before any checks are signed.
So you do have to have those checks and balances.
Yes, we do.
All right. And so you hired a management company. Then that management company hires staff and vendors.
No, the vendors are selected through the site director. Not the site director, the property facilities manager, who is on the board of the Capital Improvement Committee, which is run, 2 board members co-chair that, and so that any major capital has to basically be worked out through the committee, because we hire a construction management company. We have the vice president of facilities, of the managing agent. We have the site director, our property manager, and we have 2 members of the board who co-chair it. And they basically look at any capital that has to happen. Basically, they want to see any bids the bids before, and have everything explained. Mm-hmm. And they have to initial off on anything before I will sign off on any contract. So
when I mentioned vendors, you went to capital improvements. I was thinking about trash collection, everyday maintenance kinds of.
Yes, that's done by the managing agent, the site director. Yes.
Right. Okay. And so you have 2 different types. You have the capital improvements that could be replacing roofs, replacing windows, pavement,
refrigerators, gutters being cleaned, landscaping, you name it.
Okay. And so you have a process for that. What other committees do you have?
We have a committee that's called the ELM Committee, which is Energy, Landscaping, and Maintenance. That committee basically walks the property at least once a month, except in maybe December and January and February. And they look at things that may have not been caught by the property facility, or the site director. And they look in backyards. They basically walk around, and they come back and meet with the facilities director and the site director in order to determine what needs to be done, what they saw, and so that it can basically be incorporated within what the day-to-day runnings of things that need to happen in St. Joseph.
All right. So you got these committees, and everything functions. Everybody knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. And how often do you have a membership committee? I mean, a membership meeting. Do all of the members are invited?
A total membership meeting is an annual meeting.
Okay. That's once a year.
That's once a year. The first Monday in April, every year.
Okay.
And then if there's a need for another meeting, if something comes up that we need to meet, we call a special meeting. But we haven't had to do that for years.
We're going to take our break right now. We'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOS and 95.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes. This is Everything Co-op is our show. We're in Phoenix, Arizona at the National Association of Housing Co-ops annual meeting. And we have Miss Audrey Dickerson from Boston, Massachusetts, talking about their co-op, which is a 137-unit, the St. Joseph Cooperative, built in the 68-69 time frame. They are going to celebrate 50 years in business. They paid off their mortgage, which was HUD funded. It's a limited equity cooperative, so it's affordable housing for 50 years, and their members voted to keep it affordable and not try to go out and make a whole lot of money, but keep it affordable for generations to come, which is admirable. I've had a couple limited equity co-ops that went condo, and they regretted it for a whole lot of reasons. One is, which was amazing, and Roger Wilcox explained that to me. I couldn't explain it to them to get them to change their mind, but when you bring in people making $150,000, $250,000, $300,000, and then the folks that have been there are making $40,000 or $50,000. The people that's making this lot of money, they may want to have all of these improvements that the people that have been living there for a long time can't afford.
Right.
And you get this two-class of people, and there's total frustration and friction going all the time. And that I've experienced that with 2 different co-ops that decided to go condo. For the people that left, they got a chunk of change, but in Boston, that change doesn't go very far. It sounds like a lot.
No, not in Boston. Prices of homes and condos, they're sky high.
So I really admire you guys for keeping it limited equity and for you all and for generations to come. You said there's 3, 4, 5 generations already have been there, and for just
4 generations.
4.
Some of them, the 5th generation, some of them are pregnant now.
Okay.
So the fact is so that it could go to that, but right now we're up to 4 generations.
So I say that co-ops help people get financial wealth and social wealth.
Yes.
And you've already said it takes a village to raise a family, and you all work together to help raise their children and make sure people are going to. Do you get a sense also that you have learned more and people there on how to work with the police department, with HUD, with other different agencies, no matter who they are? And so you learn how to work together within the people in the community. So when there are conflicts, you know how to resolve those, and you learn how to work with other organizations. Right. Is that right?
Yes. My father taught me that you have to be politically astute and know who your representatives are. And that's one of the things that I know every representative, every senator, every city councilman, and they know who I am. We invite them out to the cooperative. We invited them to fairs, or we go to when there's something there. We make sure that our presence is known. So that just like the police department, we basically have them come to our annual meeting. We have a rapport with the community service officers who are police officers and the community that abuts us, because the fact is that we need to, like we have a big a ballpark across from us, so we need to deal with the city in regards to making sure that the trash or the people are not coming and walking through our cooperative, because we have, no trespassing signs, and to go to the liquor store, so that's, so that we basically are a tight community. And because from June of every year until the 1st of November, we basically have a first arm of security, which basically they come from Thursdays to Sunday, and we have patrols, and just to make sure that people from the outside aren't coming in to cause problems.
Okay.
We don't have any problems inside, because our community service officers say, nothing happening in there. Maybe 10 years ago, we basically, there was a little gang stuff there. And basically, we basically dealt with the police, we dealt with the courts, and those individuals either had their children leave and live someplace else, or they moved out, because we did not need that. And so that the fact is that that's why we have a good rapport with the police, with First Armor, and so that our members can sit on their porches and not worry about someone coming through there and, causing problems and shootings and things like that.
So we're here in Phoenix at the National Association of Housing Co-ops. The 5th principle, which is the principle that I like the most, is education, training, and information. Well, at least that's the first one that drew my attention to co-op. We've already talked about the 4th, autonomy and independence,
yes,
where you must have control over your property, and not let a property manager or a government entity or anybody come and try to tell you all how to run it.
Oh, no, we don't. That's something that we know how to deal with.
Yeah. You have to follow laws like fair housing.
Yes.
So there's laws you have to follow, but you have control as long as you're living inside those laws.
Yes, as long as we're complying with the HUD for the HAP contract, we basically comply with those regulations, and so that no one can come in and say that we're not doing our jobs, and that the cooperative is not running as a cooperative, financially stable, and always filled. No vacancies. So,
how many board members or members from St. Joseph is here in Phoenix?
3.
3. So what classes
are... Includes myself.
Okay. What classes are you all going to be taking?
It depends on the specialty of the individual. For instance, my vice president, he basically sits on the audit finance. So he will be sitting in on classes that have to do with financial management, so that he can take that back, share with the committee, and share with the board of directors. Our other board member, she basically deals with the membership selection. So she will be taking courses that are within the marketing for futures of cooperatives, which talk about the different things that, who are we, what are we doing, what we're supposed to be doing, and how do we ensure that we're promoting our cooperative? How are we making sure that the name of our cooperative is out there through our website and our face page? So she will be taking that. because I am now a registered cooperative manager, even though I am not going to sit as a property manager or micromanager. I will be taking registered cooperative managers courses like insurance.
One second. Registered cooperative manager, which I'm one also, it's the NAHC, National Association of Housing Co-ops designation. It's to help managers, particularly was designed to help managers understand co-ops. And we already talked about the difference between a co-op and apartment building, a little bit about the difference between co-op and condos, but to really understand how to allow the members to elect a board and the board to really run and hold the management accountable and the management do the day-to-day. So it's a fascinating program if anybody out there really wants to understand and running of co-ops. It's the Registered Cooperative Management Program, RCM, through the National Association of Housing Co-ops. So what classes will you be taking?
Okay, I will be taking insurance issues for management because I need to know, what would be the issues for insurance issue for management. I will be taking legal issues for management because I need to know that. So that if somebody says, oh, we need to do this, I basically have an understanding of what they're supposed to be doing so that I can basically feel more at ease when something is presented to me. I have a better knowledge of that. I will be taking stabilizing energy, which basically we have that. But I want to see if there's anything else out there that basically may be better than what we're currently using. And I will be taking a course for board members only to understand the RCM and what they do. I'm now an RCM. I basically want to sit in on that so board members can get an understanding of what I just went through in regards to and what knowledge I had. And then our profile director, from Trinity Management, she will be taking courses like what tears down your community, your cooperative. She will be taking courses on public policy, trends, things like that. So that the schedule I have in front of me now shows that just about every course is scheduled because my board members and myself will take 5 courses each during this 2 days of conferences. We will take 5. So that means from the morning till the end at 5:15, we will be there so that we will get that knowledge. We'll basically take that back to the chairs of different members. We will meet with the board and go over this, and then anything that basically should be shared to the entire community will be sent. Put down and sent out to our membership through our newsletter, which we have every other month. We do a newsletter for our members so that they are aware and knowledgeable of what is happening in the cooperative, what are some trends that are happening that they need to be aware of. So we take to do that with the newsletter. Sometimes our newsletter is a thick one because we go through everything, so that they'll get information from the property manager, the property facilities manager, the management of the capital improvement committee, the audit finance, so that information that they need to be, because as members, they need to be knowledgeable. So we need to not just educate the board, we need to educate the members.
Right. Now, do you evaluate the management company or do you evaluate yourselves?
Yeah, we evaluate them based on what they're doing or they don't do. And if there's an issue or a problem, then we meet with the profile director and the chief executive officer of Trinity Management, and we go over any issues or concerns that we see or if we need clarification.
Audrey, thank you very much. It's been wonderful to talk to you out here in Phoenix, Arizona.
And thank you for asking me.
We're through. I really appreciate you, and I already give you an A+ for managing your cooperative and just people having a great time. Thank you very much. Real quick,
we received from the NAHC last year Star Cooperative Award.
Thank you very much. We'll see you everybody next week. Please live cooperatively.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOF and 95.9 FM.